let's get into the giant mailbag.
What crazy thing did City do this week?
It's time for Mattress Running the Numbers. Ready for the main event?
The main event.
Frequent Miler on the air starts now. Frequent Miler on the air starts now. Today's main event, the best card for every occasion. We're going to discuss which card to use where. How do you get the most rewards for every bit of your spend? And we probably aren't going to see eye to eye on every single one, are we?
I mean, there's a good chance. There's a good chance we may not. There'll be a little bit of debate, I hope.
I hope so. That's what makes it entertaining and informative, I think, because it's good to hear why people don't agree. There's not always a right answer to any of these things.
But hopefully I can correct the error of Craig's ways.
That's right, because I'm always wrong. Nick's always right.
Right, of course.
In some universe that I haven't been to yet. Let's go on to the giant mailbag. Today's mail comes from Heidi. And apologies to Heidi. I've edited your email a bit for brevity, but I've kept the gist of it. Heidi says, in your recent episode, and she was referring to the episode where we talked about how to stay out of Amex pop-up prison by, spending on a bunch of different cards and whatnot. And she said, it surprised me you didn't mention that the Amex pop-up is not always universal. In other words, just because you get the pop-up with one card application, that doesn't automatically mean you'll get the pop-up with all cards. Now, another aside from me is that we did mention that first, what is pop-up prison? It's when Amex decides they don't like you anymore because maybe you've been opening cards and just for the sign-up bonus and then canceling them, and so you're not necessarily a good customer, and so they'll pop up a thing when you go to apply for a card, and the pop-up will say basically you can apply, but you're not going to get a welcome bonus for this card. And well, then we all just cancel out because what's the use of signing up for a card without the welcome bonus? There are sometimes uses, but you get the idea. And so we talked about ways of basically becoming a good customer so that hopefully wouldn't happen. And in that conversation, I do remember talking about how business cards are different from personal cards in that you could get banned from one or the other without affecting the other. But Heidi's pointing out that it actually spans cards even within, for example, your personal cards. So she says, for what it's worth, here's my recent pop-up data point. In December, I applied for the Hilton Honors no fee card pop-up. Over the next few days, I tried again and got the pop-up each time. Frustrated with Amex and curious whether I was in pop-up jail for all cards, I tried the Resi Platinum offer. That's the best offer for the Amex Platinum card. And she did not get a pop-up. She was instantly approved. So good to know. Good information.
Very good intel. So if you're getting that pop-up, you might just give it a shot on a different card. And, luckily right now, offers, right now, generally speaking, in the current times in which we live, the welcome offers on a lot of Amex cards have been really good. So even if you can't get the one you initially wanted, you can still probably get something pretty good if that's true. If you're able to get another card that doesn't have the pop-ups, it's not necessarily that you have to sacrifice a ton. You just may have to change plans a little bit.
Right. All right.
Very good. Yep. Excellent. All right. So that brings us to what crazy thing did
Qatar do this week?
What did they do? How did they get crazy this week?
So, I wrote a post about how in March, the whole loyalty world is turning topsy-turvy, but I didn't mention Qatar because they waited till after my post to announce that they're ditching their Q Miles program. Their whole rewards program
just gone.
Bye. Instead of those miles, they're going to be issuing Avios, which is the currency used by British Airways, Aer Lingus, and Iberia. Mm-hmm. And so now Qatar joins the team.
Isn't that weird?
It seems totally out of left field to me. I was so surprised by this news. It's interesting though, because Avios were already sort of a transferable currency in their own right. Usually we look to bank points. So we constantly recommend acquire bank points that are transferable to a lot of different airline and hotel programs. That gives you the ultimate flexibility. It's rare that you see that with airline miles that you can transfer to other programs. But with Avios, at least with the 3 programs we just mentioned that are already Avios earning programs, you can move your points from one to the other. And so my assumption is that'll be true with Qatar as well. And that makes them more valuable because, each program has its own sort of sweet spots. And so, you don't like what price you're getting on British Airways, you move your points to Iberia, for example, and book from there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really intriguing. It's very interesting. It makes me wonder if we'll see this more. I mean, do you think? Well, it's a hard question to answer because if I asked you last week, do you think that Qatar is going to throw away its award chart and become an Avios airline? You probably would have laughed and said, why would anybody ever think that? But I mean, do you think we'll see consolidation? Is that something that just might happen with frequent flyer programs? This seems really weird.
It's interesting because they're all in the One World program, One World Alliance. And One World recently, if I remember right, announced the ability to do upgrades, use whatever miles to upgrade within the One World Alliance. And I haven't had a chance to look into that to see whether it's a good deal. My guess is no. But regardless, it shows, One World trying to bring its alliance kind of closer together and have more in common. And so I do kind of wonder, is Avios, is whoever's running the Avios program, are they trying to position Avios as the One World currency of the future? Yeah, that would be bizarre, because that would mean, if really all One World programs move to it, which I don't really think will happen, but if they did, that would mean losing American Airlines miles as a thing.
Right.
I don't see that happening. Alaska miles, it seems very unlikely, but
I think it seems particularly unlikely for the US based programs because those mileage programs are such a profit center for them. I don't know if that's the case with as many foreign programs. Certainly maybe, but I don't know. I think, for example, it probably is a major profit center for like the Virgin Atlantics of the world. But for Finnair, I don't know. Is Finnair Plus a big profit center for Finnair? I have no idea. And if it's not, then maybe joining the Avios program would make sense. Who knows what will happen there, but not impossible. Okay, I have one more question about this. How do you pronounce Qatar?
Well, you search for how to pronounce Qatar on Google, and you'll find our post on it. And it's a funny thing because there is no single right answer. Is it? I'm not even gonna try it. There's different ways of pronouncing it. Read the post and then read the comments because they're hilarious. You'll get people equally saying, I've lived in Qatar for 20 years and I know that it's pronounced Qatar. And then the next person saying, I've been a flight attendant for 100 years and I know it's Qatar.
Right.
It's fun.
It's fun and continues to be popular. So you're equally likely to have found a comment from within the last 6 months as you are like 6 years. So it's that's right. A fun one to check out. All right. So that's craziness, Qatar, however it's pronounced. Craziness from you. Moving on, let's talk about Mattress Running the Numbers. And this week's Mattress Running the Numbers is Marriott, because Marriott has dropped a bomb on us.
They have. We knew it was coming, that award charts were going away, but they've given us some information about which programs are going to be hotels are going to be more expensive.
Right. Exactly. And so we know a little bit more now about what that's going to look like. They gave us some information about what's going to happen in 2022. So in 2022, the rest of this year, most Marriott properties are not going to range beyond their current category bands. And what I mean by that is they will be somewhere between the off-peak and peak price based on the category they're in now. Now, keep in mind, those categories are going away entirely on March 29th. So it'll take 2 days for Marriott's computer system to completely eliminate the old categories. But between March 29th and March 30th, they will all go away, but properties for the most part are expected to remain between that, again, off peak and peak price based on their category level today for the rest of this year. Starting next year, the gloves are off and we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But that said, about 3% of the portfolio, 200 properties, are going to be potentially increasing by more than their current category bands. And so Marriott provided us a list of those 200 properties, some of which are going to increase by up to 5,000 points. Some will increase by up to 10,000 points, some 20, and some up to 30,000 points. Now, in that list is all of the properties that you could possibly expect to be in the list. Basically, every aspirational property that you've read about on a blog somewhere is probably on that list. And I mean, I say that somewhat facetiously, but it's pretty close to accurate that they're almost all increasing beyond their current award bands. Now, in a lot of cases, actually, it was not as bad as I expected. Like, for instance, the St. Regis in the Maldives, or Bora Bora, or Le Méridien, those types of properties, in Le Méridien, Maldives, I mean, the Gritty Palace in Venice, those places are slated to go up by 20,000 points per night. So that's obviously a big increase, but the cash rates at those places are so exorbitantly high that it doesn't feel quite as painful, even though it hurts. It hurts me, right, because I want to stay there. But
just to be clear, so you're talking about some top end, what are currently Category 8 properties, right, which at peak pricing today cost 100,000 points per night. So now you're saying they could cost at the top band. They could cost up to 120,000.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So 20%. I mean, that's certainly not insignificant. It's not necessarily out of line with what we've seen from Hyatt recently, though. Some properties going up by margins in that range. So 20%. I could probably live with at those top tier properties that often cost $1,500 or $2,000 per night. But what really surprised me was that there were a lot of properties in the list that aren't Category 8. I counted, I think within the United States, I think it was 32 properties in like Fairfield Inn, Residence Inn, Spring Hill Suites, and Town Place Suites that are all scheduled to go up by either at least 10,000 or rather either up to 10,000 points per night or up to 20,000 points per night. So those properties are going to be going up a fair amount. And in many cases, those are properties that are currently 35,000 points per night standard. So now if they go up 20,000 points on top of the peak price, they might cost you as many as 60,000 points. That's a pretty big difference. But more importantly, that hurts for free night certificates because, as you know, we've been expecting that we'll be able to top off free night certificates with points starting in early 2022. We now know that's not going to happen until after the award chart is gone. So starting in April at some point, you'll be able to add up to 15,000 points to a free night certificate. Obviously not a coincidence that you can add up to 15,000 points, and a number of properties where you might want to use your 35K certificates will increase by up to 20,000 points. So that will put a lot of properties out of range of those 35,000 point free night certificates when there is high demand. Same is true for the 50K certificates and the Category 6 properties that you would have hoped to have used them on. So if you have those certificates, look for uses now. Look for a chance to use those for outsized value now. And I'm sure that we'll analyze that a bit more in the coming week here. But you definitely want to try to use those to maximum advantage while you can. On the flip side, there's only 3% of the portfolio. So there's a lot of places where you may still be able to add points.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the ability to add up to 15,000 points to your free night certificate. We were told originally that that capability would be released early 2022. Mm-hmm. And so we hoped that we would have that ability before the categories went away so that we could use our certificates, book those hotels before they lose the category bounds and lock in those good deals. So should we do that?
Well, it'd be nice if you could, but
it would be nice.
But you can't because it's going to happen after the award chart goes away. Yeah. So you're not going to have that opportunity. You'll be able to top off starting in April. Though, like I said, the nice thing is that I say nice thing. I mean, I'm looking for the positive points here because there's obviously a lot of negative. One positive point is that a large number of properties are not scheduled to increase beyond their current pricing bands. So anything, if you have a 35K free night certificate, the majority of properties within that 35K range, which is normally 30,000 off peak, 35,000 standard, 40,000 peak, those will still be within use of your free night certificate because they're not going to increase for the majority of properties, not going to increase by more than their current top tier band, top tier of their band, which is 40,000 points. And the next level up, which is currently 50,000 points standard and 40,000 off peak, will be within reach when they're not peak priced also, potentially, though unfortunately, certainly in April, you may see some of those 50,000 point properties suddenly cost 52,000 points so that you can't use your certificate. That would not shock anybody. So you probably won't get a chance to, really maximize that as much as you might hope, in the sense that the award chart will be gone by the time you're able to do it. But that's why I say look for an opportunity now. See if you can find a good opportunity now, because I think those certificates, we've said before, I think they're going to continue to be valuable after the award chart goes away. I think you're going to continue to get more than $85 a year in value out of,
I do too. And, it's not unusual, at least in my case, for me to travel during off-peak times. And at those times when using hotel points or certificates, it's often a really bad deal because you see that the hotel you want to book is only $110 a night or whatever. And so why use a 35K certificate? You're getting terrible value for that. But now theoretically, during those off-peak times, you might be able to book a hotel that's even like a category 8 today with a lower level cert. And so we'll see if that falls out.
That's more likely to be true in 2023 because based on the wording, I expect that list of 200 properties are the only ones that are going to change by more than their current category bands. So for instance, the category 8 right now, even on the low end is 70,000 points, not going to be less than 70,000 points this year. In the future, they say that, they're going to work to make increases incremental and provide some times of year where you can get great value for your points still. I don't expect that will actually mean less than whatever the off-peak price is today. I think it'll be surprising, unless those, like you said, those situations where it's $100 a night, I don't know, maybe they will drop as time goes on and it becomes more and more dynamic. But for now, I was saying, I think those 35K certs will continue to be valuable. However, I think you're more likely to get like $150, $200 in value out of a free night certificate in the future, which is double your money. So that's not bad. If you want to get like $300 or $400 a night in value out of your certificate, though, I think you got to look to try to find a good use of it before the award chart goes away.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
All right. So that brings us then to the main event.
The best card for every occasion. All right. So in a moment, we're going to start talking about what's the best card to use for your grocery shopping, your online shopping, etc. But first, I want to bring up a kind of bigger topic, which is that points are not equal. So for example, if you see that your Hilton card earns 6 points per dollar at a grocery store and your City Premier card only earns 3 points per dollar, it does not mean that your Hilton card is the best card for your supermarket shopping, because Hilton points are worth a lot less for most things. And it depends how you use them, which is the other part of what I want to bring up. So on average, for example, I've seen Hilton points only worth about 0.4 of a cent each on average. But in some cases, you can get much higher, like double that value or even more, if you know what you're doing. And so I refer to that as cherry picking awards. If you're someone who cherry picks awards and you know how much value you're likely to get, then it very well might be the right thing for you to do to use that card at a grocery store. Okay. So now stepping back from that sort of view of, not all points are worth the same. They're also not worth the same depending on your situation. So for example, we always talk about how valuable transferable points are. Amex membership rewards, Citi thank you rewards, Chase Ultimate rewards, Capital One miles, all transferable to a lot of partners, super valuable. Okay. Let me now talk about Amex membership rewards. They're incredibly valuable, mostly for transferring to high value airline partners to book international business class, first class awards. Can get incredible value that way. Now take my case. All right. I have, thanks to the pandemic causing me to cancel all kinds of flights and everything, I am super flush with airline miles in a number of programs. So I don't have zero near-term need to transfer membership rewards points to an airline program. Okay. And I'm also extremely flush with Amex membership rewards points because there have been so many incredible deals lately, especially last year, to earn all kinds of multiples on your points. And I'm still working down one thing. My wife signed up for a card that got 10x for small businesses and dining. We're still using that until the end of next month. So still have that front and center in the wallet for those things. But the point is, even if a membership rewards card earns the most points for a given purchase, I'm not necessarily going to use that first over another card that earns Chase Ultimate Rewards, City thank you points, for example. I don't have any Capital One cards, so that's not an option for me.
Sore spot. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a really good point, that it varies depending on what it is that you need. And so there are reasons you might pick something that you need more imminently, especially, if you have an award that you really want to book and need to book, and you need some points for that particular award, then those points are going to be worth more to you than points that may, theoretically be worth more money or even cash back potentially. So that's a good point too. Although I want to caution that I always find some challenge in figuring out how much those things are worth to you. Like you mentioned cherry picking awards, and that's one thing that always sticks out in my mind, because I'm an award cherry picker myself. I always love to cherry pick my awards and get fantastic value out of points. But I also try to be careful about not overvaluing points based on how I'm going to use them, because, Hilton is a perfect example of one where you might say, okay, on average, Hilton points are worth 0.4 of a cent. So if you're getting 6 points per dollar, that's like 2.4% back towards a Hilton stay, right? But maybe you're great at picking really awesome Hilton redemptions. Maybe you stay only at like the Conrad Bora Bora or Maldives or whatever, and you're like, wow, I'm getting 1 cent or 2 cents or 3 cents per Hilton point in value, so I'm going to continue using my Hilton card. And if that gives you the joy of free, don't let me steal it. But on the flip side, you can often buy those points for half a cent each. And so if you're looking at a redemption that costs $1,000 a night or 100,000 points, what are you going to do? Can you really value your points at 1 cent each? Because you would never pay $1,000 for that night. You would pay $500 for the points. So it doesn't matter how much you redeem them for. The points are worth $500 because Hilton so frequently sells their points for half a cent each, and you can pool with up to 10 people. So you can get everybody in the family to buy whatever the maximum is and have as many Hilton points as you likely need. So I feel like it's a little bit of a, wishy-washy place when you overvalue points by how you redeem them. Just a point I wanted to make there. Okay.
That's a great point. Great point. And especially true with Hilton and IHG points, both of which frequently go on sale for about that half cent
rate.
Or
even also, Marriott, they regularly sell their points at 1.25 cents each. So that's another situation where I'll often say, if you're going to use them at a property for a stay that costs $2,000 cash or 100,000 points, are you going to say you got 2 cents per point in value? I don't think that's really genuine, because you wouldn't pay $1,800 if your option was to use $1,800 or 100,000 points. Even if you had 0 points to start, the smartest move would be to buy the points at 1.25 cents each and pay $1,250 for that stay rather than paying $1,800 in cash. So again, I think it's true across many programs anyway. But I think that again, that I don't want to take too much of the fun out of using the points, because I do enjoy using the points. I don't love thinking about it that way. Yeah. I just try to be careful when I'm comparing what to use.
No, it's a great point. Not all programs have like easily purchasable points at a good rate, but limits, there are quite a few.
And there are limits how many you buy.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. All right, let's get into what card. What's the best card for what? And keep in mind, if you don't spend much in a given category that we're talking about, It probably doesn't
It
matter.
doesn't matter at all. No.
It's not going to make a big difference.
Not at all. No. My wife was looking for which card to take to pay for the inspection on one of our vehicles just the other day. And I was like thinking, oh, well, it's probably going to code as a small business. Let me find the card that's still got, some extra points or blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, wait a second, the inspection is $21. Those points aren't going to make any difference at all. Whatever credit card you have in your wallet, just pay for it.
Yeah. So I have this fond memory of, I was with a bunch of bloggers years ago who we were out to lunch in New York City, and when the bill came, we all whipped out our Sapphire Preferred was the big restaurant card of the time, and to get 2x, and that was a big deal at the time. But then the restaurant said cash only, and we're all like, oh, and then one of the people with us pointed out, we each spent about $10. You're talking about 20 points.
20 cents worth of points there. Slow down.
It's not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Right. So this only really matters when in categories where you're spending a bunch. I mean, I guess it matters to some extent, no matter what. I always feel like I want to maximize things, but I think it's important to keep that in perspective. I'm the same way with gas. Like, I know some people, and I am a maximizer at heart, but I know some people really hunt out that gas station that costs 5 cents less a gallon. And I'm like, I'm going to put 10 gallons in. It's going to save me 50 cents. This one's right here. I'm just going to stop here and go here. So it's the same kind of thing with the credit cards that, don't drive yourself crazy over using the right card for purchases that are going to create an insignificant number of points, unless it becomes a significant number of those purchases.
Right. All right. Okay. So grocery, what do you use for your grocery purchases, Nick?
Amex Gold mostly, though there are times when I just don't have it in my wallet and I use a suboptimal card, I have to admit. But the Amex Gold for 4 membership rewards points per dollar spent. Now, just like Greg, I sit in the same situation where now I'm suddenly finding myself very flush with membership rewards points, more so than I probably anticipate needing to be for a long time here. I don't have enough travel plans, even like dreamt up yet to use them all. So I look at it and I'm not super excited about more membership rewards points, but it beats the return I'll get with anything else. And I look at it in very much the same way that I think Greg mentioned about this the other day, or maybe in his post on Friday, that you can look at it if you have the Schwab Platinum card, which in our case, both the Gold card and the Schwab card are in my wife's name. So she's got both of those. Those points can be cashed out. They can be, redeemed for a deposit to a Schwab account at a value of 1.1 cents per point. So that's like a return of 4.4% at the grocery store on up to $25,000 spent per year. That's good for grocery spending. So I'm happy with that right now.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm currently doing. And I'm saying kind of because I'm transitioning. So we just last month finished off a 10x deal on grocery and gas. And I haven't reshuffled my wallet yet because we've been traveling and I didn't prepare well. So, it was shuffling around. So right now, I'm inclined to use the Gold card for that, but I'm not that excited about it. So what I think I'm going to do is look for, I mentioned in my post that I could use as many Hyatt points as I could get. I'm spending them like crazy these days. And so I want Chase Ultimate Rewards points, which transfer to Hyatt. And so what I'm going to look for is when Chase Freedom has their 5X category bonus, quarterly bonus at grocery stores. I'm thinking that the groceries that I shop at a lot, I'll just go in and buy gift cards and, earn my 5X that way. I don't spend, so much on groceries that it's going to be a limiter that you can only get $1,500 to spend on that.
Yeah, that's a good strategy, and also a strategy worth keeping in mind in categories when the freedom bonus is something like Amazon, because Amazon sells Safeway gift cards and they probably sell Whole Foods gift cards and others. So if you shop at one of those stores where you can get the gift cards on Amazon, then you may be able to lock in your 5X just by buying those with the Freedom card. So that could be a really good strategy potentially. I'll also mention that I've used the Venture X somewhat at the grocery store. Now that seems really counterintuitive because the Venture X just earns 2 points per dollar everywhere, but we've been working on the sign-up bonus spend. spend. And so,
Yeah.
When I'm doing sign up bonus spend, I like to pepper in some things that are more normal than, potentially other purchases may be. So I will break that out at the grocery store sometimes, especially when I'm not spending a very significant amount of money at the grocery store anyway, just to get some, regular purchases in there and build towards the sign up bonus, because that's always a good return on spend if you're, working on a new sign up bonus.
Exactly. If your strategy is to just keep signing up for new cards for the big welcome bonuses and just spend on those, you'll earn a lot more points from those sign up bonuses than we're talking about earning by getting 3x here, 5x there. For sure. That's the best way. A lot of people don't like to do that though. They like to have a more kind of stable wallet and know what their go-to is for certain types of spend.
Right.
And what I like to do is put labels on the cards that my wife carries so that she knows what to use where.
I have finally started doing that as well.
She actually loves that because she does not like when I get mad about what card she used for a given purchase. So that helps protect her a bit.
Same. I think it's even been a bigger deal this last year. Like before this last year, I feel like my wife had a pretty good handle on what we wanted to use where. But when Amex started throwing out all those crazy bonuses, or small business and restaurant, at some point home furnishings, and the +4 referral bonuses and blah blah blah, then it all of a sudden wasn't as intuitive necessarily which card she should use for which type of purchase anymore. So that really became important to label then. So I've been labeling now too.
Very good. So my wife was in a little boutique store recently, and I had been waiting outside. Then I realized, she doesn't have the 10x small business card with her. So I had to, go in there and be like, hey, here you go. Use this. So that was fun.
Don't get 2 points per dollar on this.
So grocery. So we're both kind of on Amex Gold right now, and even though membership rewards isn't our,
I'm surprised though.
Goal.
I'm surprised. Why not the city premier for you? You're such a big fan of this choice privileges thing. I would think that 3 city points might be worth more to you than 4 membership rewards points.
I actually would do that. I don't currently have the premier card. So
hanging on to that prestige.
Yeah. I might. Well, we'll see. I could see myself product changing it or a different card to the premier if I can't get approved for the premier. Hoping my wife can get approved for a new premier. We'll see. So there's still like an 80K offer hanging out there. I think that for the premier, that's not a,
and then you'll take the 3x city points over the membership rewards points. Am I right?
I think so. It's tough though, because if you think about the cash back potential of the membership rewards,
I was trying to trap you. I was trying to lay the trap there for you to hop right into it, but you're right.
So remember, I can get back 1.1 cent per membership reward point. So getting 4.4% cash back at grocery stores, is that better than 3x thank you points? If I choose the thank you points, it means paying over a penny each for my thank you points. I don't usually like to pay more than a penny each if I'm sort of buying, if you will, points. So I don't know.
That's a very fringy thing, because I know you like to use your city points now for choice privileges, right? And so you get 2 choice privileges points for every city point, and so then you're like paying 4.4 cents essentially for 6 choice points potentially, and so that works out to be like 0.73 cents per choice point, which is, I guess, a little bit cheaper than you could buy them otherwise, probably. But you got to do the math.
Yeah, I forgot to mention what I really ought to do is get the city custom cash, and that's what I need to do. So that card will give you 5x in the category you spend the most each billing cycle, up to $500 spend. It would totally work for me to just get one of those, label it as grocery, use it only for grocery, get 5x for all my grocery spend. And then I don't have to worry about the freedom card rotating categories and stuff. Just boom.
Right.
So that is actually what I will do, what I should do. And then even if I want it as cash, I can cash it out at a penny each. So that's 5% back. That's better than the gold card.
There you go. Awesome. Very good. All right. So that's grocery. What's our next category?
Next is gas. So again, the City Custom Cash, you could get one of those and spend up to $500 a month, get 5x City thank you points. Business Gold card, the Amex Business Gold, you could get 4x. Of course, then there's the Wyndham Business Earner Reward, Wyndham Rewards Business Earner card, something like that.
Earner business. Yeah.
It has all those words in the name, whether
it's an earner. It's an earner. I don't know. Sure. Because it earns 8 points per dollar.
8 points per dollar. 8 Wyndham points per dollar. And, you know, a lot of listeners might be like, well, Wyndham points, I never stay at a Wyndham. But of course, as we've talked about before, you can use them for Vacasa vacation rentals. And if you find a great 1-bedroom vacation rental, it'll only cost you 13,500 points per night, because the Wyndham Earner card gives you 10% back, or 10% off the 15,000 points per night rate. And that's a great deal. I mean, you could get incredible value for your Wyndham points that way.
You can even also for 2 and 3 bedrooms, because it'll be, if you have the credit card, 13,500 points per bedroom. So you're looking at 27,000 points for a 2-bedroom unit, or, you know, about 40,000 points for a 3-bedroom, which in some cases can be a great deal still.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so it's not unusual to get, 2 cents per point value, especially considering that when you book with points, you don't have to pay all those taxes, the cleaning fees, all that stuff that jacks the cash rate way up, especially for a short stay, because, otherwise those fees get spread out. And so you could get really fantastic value.
You can. Unfortunately, Vacasa's footprint is somewhat limited. That's the downside. Yeah. So you have to look and see whether there's any Vacasa properties in the places you want to go. But if there are, that savings is really nice. Just this weekend, we were planning on booking a vacation rental, and it was in a place where Vacasa didn't have any properties. And so, we spent hours looking at Airbnb listings and Verbo and blah, 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 and settled on a place. And then once you added in all of the fees, the cleaning fees and the taxes and everything else, we were like, that gets ridiculously expensive for just a few days. And we could have done it. We could have used Chase points, I guess, to erase it. But we finally decided, you know what, this is kind of silly. We're not going to do this. So we didn't. And the nice thing would have been if it were Vacasa, if Vacasa had a place there, we wouldn't have run into that experience. We would have found a place we wanted. And as long as it fits the price range, we don't know exactly, but we think it's about $350 a night per bedroom that Vacasa will let you use your points for. So, that can be a great value. So the Wyndham card is a great card for gas. So is that what you're using, Greg?
It is. I have switched my wallet. Again, I used to have a 10x Amex membership rewards earner for gas last year. And now that that's no longer the case, my Wyndham card made its way into my wallet. I got the Wyndham card, I think, right before that 10x thing popped up. So it hasn't spent much time in my wallet to date, but it's back in my wallet. And I also signed up for Visa Savings Edge, which gives me an additional 2% cash back at oh gosh,
Chevron.
Do you remember the
Chevron
gas stations? So that's a pretty good play, I think. 8x rewards plus 2% back.
It is. Although, I will say also that other gas stations have rewards programs that offer a similar return towards that gas station. For instance, Speedway's Speedier Rewards, the points, they're variable value depending on how you use them. So it's a little hard to quantify it, but you get roughly 2% in value back out of that program. So it's not a Visa Savings Edge thing, and it's only something you're going to be able to use at Speedway. So it's not nearly as flexible as Visa Savings Edge Chevron thing you're talking about, but it's worth looking at programs like that sometimes because they might have some decent value.
Definitely. So no doubt.
And personally, my gas station spend has increased significantly as of late. And so I have been trying to figure out the best thing to use. And I had been using the Wyndham card for my regular fill-ups, though I got such a low credit limit on the Wyndham card that it's just not entirely usable. It's kind of a pain in the spot.
Okay. Yep.
So I've been looking for other stuff to use. And the other thing that I've run into, and I wrote about this week, is that between my wife and I, we don't have like tons of Wyndham points, but we have more Wyndham points than I've ever redeemed in my life at this point, which again isn't saying a lot of Wyndham points, but it's enough that I'm not sure how much further I want to get invested. in something where really, to me, the main use of Wyndham points for me is going to be Vacasa rentals, and that could change at any time. And so I don't know how heavily to get invested in a program that relies on such a niche value thing. So I'm a little hesitant to keep going on Wyndham points right now, though they do have some hotels that could be decent values also. So maybe I'll use that some, but I've actually moved into using the Chasing Cash Card as of late, which seems crazy by comparison because Wyndham points are easily worth around a penny a piece. And so to take what sounds like 2% cash back in place of 8% seems a little nutty. But in my case, we don't have nearly enough Ultimate Rewards points right now. We're very low on Ultimate Rewards points. I need more Ultimate Rewards points, mostly because I need more Hyatt points while I still have globalist status. So I really got to get on earning some more of those. So anytime office supply stores have their sales, I got my eyes on that. And the Ink Cash earns 2 points per dollar at gas stations. So I've been using that, though it's very obviously arguable that I should be getting a 4% cash back card. If that's my aim, I could just get a card that earns 4% cash back, and that would probably buy me Hyatt stays, at least in the realm of what I'm going to be able to use the points for, right?
What about, have you looked in office supply stores for gas gift cards? I don't know if they regularly stock them, but that's another option, is to earn 5x with your Ink card buying gift cards at office supply stores.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy if I was mostly filling up my tank at the gas station. That would be a great strategy. So I agree.
So what you're saying is you're buying other things that you cannot buy
some
with
other things at gas
gift
stations.
cards.
Yes,
I get it.
So
that's also why your credit limit makes a difference.
It's a problem.
With your Wyndham.
It's a problem with the Wyndham card.
Your Wyndham card.
You can't buy too many of those other things that gas stations sell. Hot dogs.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right.
Stuff like that.
So let's talk about
gas is done. What's next?
Let's talk about dining. What do you use to pay for restaurants and food delivery and so on?
Again, Amex Gold for the most part. And again, I'm looking at it as 4.4% back on that now because we don't really need more membership rewards points imminently. So that card, and then that's the card we use when we're together. So if we're together, it's the gold card. If my wife and I are going somewhere separately, then usually one of us is carrying the gold card and one of us is carrying the Brex card, because the Brex card also earns 4 points per dollar spent. Now it's only worth 4% if you're cashing out, so it's not quite as good that way. And they don't have quite as many transfer partners as Amex, though they have the transfer partners that I use most frequently with Amex. So I'm fairly happy to earn 4x on that card when on those rare occasions when my wife and I are dining separately for some reason. So it would be ideal for each of us to have our own gold card. I mentioned before that the gold card is my wife's, so she could add me as an authorized user and I can get my own gold card, but I don't really want the headache of adding it to the 524 account when I can just earn my 4 points per dollar with the Brex cards close enough. So I accept that trade-off.
Gotcha. So do you not have the Capital One Saver or Saver One card?
No, and I don't think that we're likely to get approved for it because we both have a bunch of Capital One cards now. So
gotcha.
I feel like it's highly unlikely that we could get it if we could, or if we could product change to it, which I have certainly tried to see if we could find a way to product change to it. And so far we haven't been able to. I'm hopeful that at some point we'll be able to, because then, yes, I would totally use the Saver card because for Capital One points per dollar, I like Capital One's transfer partners. Again, they overlap with many of the membership rewards partners that I use most. So that's nice. And then on top of that, they have Turkish and they have Wyndham as transfer partners. So I would be totally happy with 4 points per dollar on a Saver card if I could get it.
Right. And to clarify for people who might not know this, the Saver and Saver One cards both earn 4% cash back for grocery stores.
And dining.
I'm sorry, for dining, not grocery stores. They earn 3% at grocery stores. But as Nick has written about in the past, and we've talked about on the show, if you also have a Capital One miles earning card, like the Venture or the business cards, you can actually move your cash back, your pennies, to your other account and turn them into miles in quotes, so that then they become transferable points and you can transfer it to real airline miles, some hotel points, and also take advantage of when Capital One has transfer bonuses, which is in normal times has been pretty frequent.
Yeah, definitely. And to be clear, that's a one-way street. You can move cash back to miles. You cannot move miles to cash back. So it only goes in that one direction, but it's nice. We've actually used the Spark Cash card some lately for various types of purchases, and done that because overusing the Venture card. Because then we have the option. If we want cash, we can cash it out and take it as cash. If we need miles, we can transfer it over to the miles side and take advantage of it as miles. So I actually like that, a potential ability anyway with Capital One. So I would be happy with the Saver card for dining if we could get it. That's one of those big ifs. What about you though? What are you using it?
Yeah. So I'm currently still using my old Citi Prestige card, which gets 5x for dining worldwide. And, that's earning Citi Thank You points, which, as you pointed out, I've been liking lately because thank you points transfer 1 to 2 to choice points. So I'm getting basically 10 points per dollar, 10 choice points per dollar for dining. And I'm pretty satisfied with that. I have kind of an interesting situation here where my wife and I are traveling a lot, and so I'm spending a lot of points for hotels, and I'm spending both Hyatt, which would be where I want to accumulate Chase Ultimate Rewards, and Choice, both at a pretty good clip. And so I do right now. I'm going to choose the 5x thank you points over 3x Chase Ultimate Rewards, but it's close. It's close.
That's close for you. And that makes sense. And, I think it's worth mentioning either way, whichever way you go on that there are fee-free options that earn 4% back. There's a number of them now. So, and dining is a category where you really have to consider the cost of your points, because like the US Bank Altitude Go card earns 4% cash back, no annual fee on dining. Same is true for, I think it's the New Orleans Pelican card or something, one of those new cardless cards. It's 4% dining with no limit on dining purchases in either of those cases. And again, earned as cash back. So if you are earning 5x points on your Prestige card, it's coming at some cost. Now that's a pretty good deal. I would say that in that case, you're paying little enough for the points that it's worthwhile, but it's worth considering versus whatever else you're going to use. If you're going to use a card that only earns 3 points per dollar, like the Sapphire Reserve, I guess, or one of the Freedom cards that earns 3 points per dollar, then you really have to consider, okay, well, that's coming at a cost of 4%. So I'm paying, 1 1/3 cents per Chase point. And Is that a good deal? I mean, it might be if you're transferring to partners, you're transferring to Hyatt and using them for much better value. It certainly can be a good deal, but it's not a slam dunk.
Right. That's a great point. I'm a buyer of Hyatt points at 1.3. I think once I deplete my Ultimate Rewards, war chest enough to where I need them, I think I would be, but so yes, I would not feel terrible using my Sapphire. A Sapphire Preferred or Reserve, both of which are in 3x everywhere, and also internationally don't have foreign transaction fees, unlike the Freedom cards, which also are in 3x dining. So yeah, I would be okay with that, but since I currently have a 5x dining, that's what I'm going to go with. And each time the annual fee comes up with the Prestige card, I kind of reevaluate that, and I call up to cancel, and they offer me
just keep giving you
just
reasons
enough.
To stay.
I'm not getting huge retention offers for that one, but
enough
to keep because I'm getting $250 back each year from paying for travel, and I need a card. I need either the Premier or the Prestige. So I'm going to be spending at least $95 for an annual fee in order to make my points transferable. They don't have to offer me a lot for me to say, all right, I'll keep it another year.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a good point. And also, I want to point out that, somebody may have caught the judgy tone that I had there and asking Greg if he would pay 1.3 cents a point for his Chase Ultimate Rewards points. And I'm sure that at least one of you was like, wait a second, Nick, a second ago, you're talking about earning 2 Ultimate Rewards points per dollar at the gas station instead of using a 4% cashback card. What are you giving Greg a hard time for it? And you're right. You're right. If you caught that. So I should tone that back.
Way to roast yourself on that one.
I did. I roasted myself a little bit. Okay. So, all right. So dining, you're using the Prestige and I'm using mostly the Gold or the Brex card for 4 points.
Right. Let's talk about travel now. So travel's interesting because there are tons of cards that bonus particular types of travel. Like there are Amex cards, like platinum cards that'll give you 5x for flights, for example. But let's start with just general travel. There's only so many cards that will give you a bonus for all types of travel, whether it's hotels, flights, trains, cruises, you name it. What's your go-to there?
This is one where I imagine we'll probably split some. I don't spend much money on travel. I mostly use award flights and, award stays. So there's not a lot of paid travel for me. So I look at this as a category where I don't care that much about the number of points per dollar because it's going to be, in the overall scheme of things, an insignificant number of points. What I care about is travel protections. So almost all of our travel is booked on either my wife's Chase Sapphire Reserve or my Chase Ritz card. And the difference is if I'm traveling without the family, I'll do it on my Ritz card because if I need to make a claim for trip delay or that sort of thing, that means I'll make the phone call rather than my wife making the phone call potentially. So I'll use the Ritz card if I'm traveling without the family. But if all of us are traveling together, we'll use my wife's card. I also do it that way so that I always know which card was used to book the trip. So if I end up in one of those situations where I get delayed or whatever, I'll know who it is that I have to call because I know that if it's just me, it's the Ritz card. If it's all of us, it's the Sapphire Preferred every time. So I just try to keep it consistent. Now I'll mention that
Sapphire Preferred or Sapphire Reserve.
I'm sorry if I misspoke on the Reserve. Yes, the Reserve. Absolutely. Because for the higher protections, we don't have a Sapphire Preferred in my household. Now, all of that said, paid Marriott stays, I'm generally using a gift card for. So that is one situation where I sometimes pay, but I use a gift card because I got this old, weird grandfathered Capital One card where I can redeem 64,000-ish Capital One miles for a $900 Marriott gift card. That's a rare thing, but if you have an old Capital One card, it's worth looking around in your account to see if you've got this hotel special offers section, because that's not a bad redemption for your Capital One points necessarily. Maybe not the best redemption now that they have so many transfer partners, but that's something that I've used. So I've been using that to pay for paid Marriott stays. So I'm not even worried about a credit card for my now and then paid Marriott stays. So that's
right.
My end of things. What about you?
Yeah. We do a fair amount of travel. Yes, we're booking most things with points and miles, but it's not unusual for us to be booking a boutique hotel, independent hotel. And we've done that several times recently. In each case, I've been frustrated to find that the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal did not list those hotels, even though I was able to book through hotels.com and a bunch of other sites. I did hotels.com because, they have that rewards program where after 10 nights, you get a free night, basically. So at least I'm getting something besides just the portal rewards for clicking through from a portal and booking. And I've been using mostly my Sapphire Reserve as well. In the case of hotels, I don't know how often I need travel protections. That usually comes up when booking flights and things, but I'm happy to get, 3x Ultimate Rewards for that booking. And, like Nick, sometimes I'll use my Ritz card, usually for flight purchases. And in those cases, I'm usually doing it because, one, it has exactly the same travel protections as the Sapphire Reserve. Two, it gets, I think, 6x Marriott points. Is that right?
Yeah.
For travel. So it's not a bad return. I wouldn't normally trade 3 Ultimate Rewards points for 6 Marriott. I don't think that's a great return, but it's not horrible. The other reason is that Ritz has that airline incidental fee credit, so sometimes depending on what you buy, you might be able to get that reimbursed up to $300 per year. So we actually have the same-ish answer, I think, for different reasons.
Yeah, that is interesting. And I should correct one thing. The Ritz card is 6 points per dollar at Marriott properties. It's 3 points per dollar on travel.
Oh, okay. Right. All right. So actually that's a really bad trade-off from the point of view of rewards earned. But if you're not spending a lot, it doesn't make a huge difference.
That's the thing. In my case, maybe let's say I spend a few $100s. Let's say I spend $500, right? At the sacrifice of what I could have earned 3 ultimate rewards points per dollar. So 1,500 points. There's enough Staples and Office Max gift card deals where I'm earning 5 points per dollar that I'm not terribly concerned with. Could I have earned a few? Because I'll still earn 3 Marriott points per dollar on that travel, right? So I'll still earn 1,500 Marriott points instead. So that offsets some of those lost ultimate rewards points. It's like, I don't know, I'm not going to waste too much brain power on the small. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff.
Right. Would you? So suppose you weren't flush with Amex points. Would you, when buying air? Let's say you're buying a lot of airfare. Just pretend you are.
Yep.
Would you
use
your platinum card to get 5x, or would you use your, let's say, the Sapphire Reserve to get 3x?
Well, no. First of all, no, because Amex travel protections stink comparatively. Although I guess they added some travel protections. So maybe they don't stink anymore. Maybe that's an outdated view that Amex trained me to to think of when I think of that. So I don't think. I don't know. I guess I'd have to look closer.
They don't stink anymore, but they're still not
right?
as good as Chase's travel protections.
Yeah. So you see, I think I prefer that because I'm unlikely to need to use the travel protections. However, at some point I'm going to need to use them. And that one time that I do, I feel like it probably outweighs the extra points that I could have earned. Although I don't know, would you argue the other way around, that you'd rather just self-insure, so to speak, and earn the 5X?
No, I tend to just go through Chase. Just because I like that peace of mind knowing that I have those protections, and I know that I hate paying for insurance, and so this is sort of a way I am paying for it by getting less points, but it doesn't feel like I'm paying for it, and I prefer that. What about shopping for flights through the Chase portal so you get 5x instead of 3x?
Well, do you
do that?
That's where things get a little interesting. Yeah. So the shopping for flights through the Chase portal or the Capital One portal for 5 points per dollar with the Venture X, either way could be pretty interesting and appealing. The downside there is what happens if your flight gets canceled, which is something I never ever would have really thought hard about in years past, because I just didn't have enough situations where I ever had a flight get canceled. Now, after these last 2 years and the craziness that we've seen, that's more of a concern, because if the flight ends up either getting canceled or you have to cancel it or whatever the case may be, you're going to end up with a credit that's held with ultimate rewards. And so you're going to have to call them in order to rebook and blah, blah, the headache there. Ugh.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
Not worth it.
I had bought some airfare for my niece and her husband at the beginning end of the pandemic through Chase Ultimate Rewards. That was the only time I had done that. And of course, those flights got canceled, got credit that I have to call them, Chase to use them. But
it's 2022, Chase.
Only when my niece and her husband are flying.
Yeah.
It's just not even, it's just not what I want to be spending my time doing. So yeah, I am not a fan of booking flights through those travel portals. I don't mind if I'm booking an independent hotel where I could get 10x. I don't mind going that way. I just feel like there tend to be less issues with that kind of thing. But again, as I mentioned with Chase, I'm not finding the properties I want. And so I'm frustrated with that portal, with that travel portal.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So yeah. And I think that it brings up a good point in general, that when you're booking travel, you have to consider, I think even more so than ever before, a couple of things. Obviously, you want to book the flights you want or the hotels you want, but you want to also consider the path of least resistance when things go wrong, and is it worth 2 extra points per dollar given the potential headache you face if things go wrong, I would just book direct and give up those 2 points per dollar. So that's, I think in general these days, I'm even more inclined than ever before to book direct, to not have another entity between me and whoever it is that needs to give me my money back.
Right. All right. Let's move on to warehouse stores. So Sam's Club, Costco, that kind of thing. What should people use when shopping? A lot of people I know shop at Costco, for example, all the time. What should they use?
Not the Costco credit card.
No, why not?
Well, because that's only 2% back. I mean, and that's if you want 2% back, you got lots of options for 2% back. Got to say double cash and earn yourself 2 points that you can transfer to partners. Now, I just said that, and I don't know off the top of my head whether or not Costco takes MasterCards. That goes to show I live in a rural area with no Costco. I don't know. Do you know which credit cards Costco takes?
It's embarrassing. I don't remember off the top of my head either.
I guess not. They must not, because the Costco is a Visa issued by Citi, so they must not take MasterCards, I presume. So I guess the double cash is a bad example. But get yourself the Fidelity Visa. That's a 2% cash back card that you could use then at Costco, and then you'd have cash back also, although I would probably rather have a transferable currency if you can get one. However, all that said, that's just a whole bunch of rambling, because really what you want to use is the Altitude Reserve card, probably, because you can use Google Pay or Apple Pay, mobile payments at Costco, pay with your Altitude Reserve, earn 3 points per dollar, 3 US bank flex points, or I don't know, they call them flex points anymore. Reserve altitude points, 3 points per dollar that you can then use at a value of 1.5 cents each towards travel with the real-time mobile rewards program. So that's the card that you would want, because essentially you're getting an effective 4.5% back towards travel.
Right. And that's what I would do when shopping in those kind of places, or even places like Walmart, or any big box stores where I don't have a card that bonuses that spend. That's a great option.
Yeah. Now I will mention that. So first of all, I don't shop very much at warehouse stores, so I don't really follow a strong strategy on that. My strategy has been Bank of America Premium Rewards when possible for 2.625% back, because I don't have the Altitude Reserve card and I don't spend that much at warehouse clubs, though I now and then will go to one. So, so maybe the Altitude Reserve long term might make sense if I were going to be spending a lot at those places. But I'm happy with 2.625% cash back. I will note, you mentioned Walmart and things like that, where you don't have that sort of an in-person category bonus. And the one small tip I'm going to add on that is that when Chase runs their temporary grocery bonuses, the temporary, not the Freedom Card ones, but the co-branded ones, where they'll bonus grocery on the Southwest card, for instance, or the Hyatt card, or whatever else.
Right.
I have found that my Walmart codes as grocery for those purchases, not for the Freedom. When the Freedom gives a quarterly bonus on grocery, it doesn't work at Walmart. But anytime they've run that on the co-branded credit cards with Marriott and Hyatt and whatnot, my Walmart has coded as grocery for that. So I'll use that Chase card.
That's great to know. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. What about online shopping? So just general, you want to buy something online. What's your go-to?
My go-to should be the Citi AT&T Access More card, which is not available anymore. So it doesn't really do people a lot of good talking about it. But short version of the story is that card theoretically earns 3 points per dollar at online retail merchants. So you should earn 3 points, 3 Citi thank you points per dollar spent at online stores. And again, it earns thank you points, even though it's an AT&T card. It's really kind of weird. There's still an AT&T Access card. I think that only earns 2 points per dollar or something, but I have the Access More that earns 3. So that would theoretically be my online shopping card, but not so much as of late, because I've run into so many situations where I expected to get 3X and I didn't, or I can't really figure out, did I get 3X? I got to go through each transaction, blah, blah, blah. It's gotten kind of annoying. So really that card has gotten sock drawered, just held on to for retention bonuses. And in the meantime, Amazon and Costco online, and I do shop online at Costco now and then, I've been using the point debit card. The point card debit card has been constantly offering 5 points per dollar, which is 5% cash back essentially at Amazon and Costco. And then it's up to a limit. It's like $1,000 a month usually in spend, but that fits within my needs. So I've been really happy with 5% at places like that.
Nice. So what about the Bank of America customized cash rewards card, and there's
choice, maybe.
some other cards in Bank of America's portfolio that have similar earning structure, but basically they'll give you 3% cash back in the category of your choice, up to what is it, $2,500 spend per quarter,
right?
And what's exciting about that is if you have platinum honors with Bank of America, you get that 75% bump, so you're getting 5.25% cash back in an online purchases is one of the categories you can select. So
yeah, that's potentially a great deal, right? On 5.25% up to 2,500 per quarter. We probably maybe exceed 2,500 over the course of the quarter, but maybe not, and it'd probably be pretty close. So that would probably be a really good choice in my household. So the thing you have to keep in mind with that is it's up to $2,500 in combined purchases between both whatever 3% category you choose and 2% at grocery. So you don't want to use it at grocery stores because that's going to count against your 2,500 cap for the 3% category. So make sure you're only using it for the chosen 3% category.
Right. It's a lot like the city custom cash, where you just want to pick it for one category and just
stick with
label that card and don't use it for anything else. Use other cards for other things.
That would be a good choice. And so that's, I think, a really good one. And that reminds me of another point that I'm going to tie to that. I'm going to just quickly hop back to the point debit card for a quick second. The other reason I've been using the point debit card a lot is because they've constantly had these access offers for online things where they give, 15 points per dollar at Nike. At some point they had that, and 10 points per dollar here or there, blah, blah, blah. And what's been nice there is you don't have to even card link that. That's just, you'll see it in the app, and then you can just use it and get that, and also click through a shopping portal and stack that with other stuff. So that's been kind of nice with the point card also. But backing up to the point you just made about the customized cash card, they also have a businessy version of that, right? They have a business version, and that earns a potential bonus, back in gas stations, right?
Yes. I don't remember exactly how that structure works, but I think it's on up to $50,000 spend a year, something like that. So it has much higher limits. The trick is that getting platinum honors on the business side is harder, and meaning you have to have $100,000 worth of business savings with Bank of America or with Merrill Edge or Merrill Lynch, and so your 401k and all that kind of stuff that we've used to qualify on the personal side does not work on the business side. So yeah, you could park $100K in their business checking account that doesn't earn any interest, but that's a huge waste. So
huge waste.
Yeah. So you can then with Merrill, the thing that wouldn't be a waste is you can with Merrill open a investment account, a business investment account, and put $100K in there and invest it with very low or no fees, and so that can be a really good deal. But applying for that business account, I know from experience, is it's a big deal. So it's like applying for a mortgage, like you're buying a new house. There's that much paperwork involved. It's insane. So it's not for the faint of heart to go after that.
There you go. But if you've got a sizable business with a sizable amount of cash reserves, then it might be something that's worth looking at. If you got a business where you're sole proprietorship, it's probably not going to be in the realm, essentially is what you're telling me, in the realm of possibility, or at least not without great difficulty and leaps and bounds and hoops and things like that. But if you've got an established business and you've got a fair chunk of cash reserves or investments for that business, then it might be something interesting, right?
It totally could be, especially if your business requires spending a lot at gas stations, then you have some sort of shipping company or whatever, you can do really well with Bank of America.
Yep.
So what about everywhere else? So just all the things that we didn't just list. Everybody needs a good backup card that gets good rewards just everywhere, so that you're not worried about, is this thing going to classify as a grocery store, as a restaurant, whatever. just use this. And I know, for example, there's tons of 2% cashback cards. At very least, your everywhere else card should be 2%, but you could actually do better.
You could, yeah. And there are so many now, 2% cashback. I feel like for a little while, it was basically just the Citi Double Cash and the Fidelity that were widely available and easy to get. But now there's everybody's got a 2% cashback card now, it seems. So I say everybody, not the Chases and Amexes of the world, but lots of smaller institutions do.
No, you're forgetting Chase has their business
Premier,
Premier. I forget what it's called, but it's unfortunately called a Chase Ink card, and I say unfortunate because unlike all the other Chase Ink cards, while it still earns points that they call Ultimate Rewards points, you can't move them to another account and then transfer them to partners the way you can with the other Ink cards. And so it truly is a cashback card, 2% everywhere and up to 2.5% for, I guess, for big transactions is what it was.
Right. So, all right. So 2% should be your floor. Now, a card that I feel like when it launched, we agreed it would be a great everywhere else card, like the new king of everywhere else cards for people, was the Blue Business Plus, right? 2 transferable points per dollar on the first 50,000 spend per year, then 1x after that, and no annual fee, keeps your membership rewards points alive. Obviously, again, earns a good return everywhere. So is that the everywhere else card in your wallet? Should that be everybody's everywhere else card? It seems like a great solution.
I mean, I still think it's a great one for many people. If membership rewards points are what you want to be earning, that's a very good choice. But then along came, like, Citi updated their Double Cash to make their points. At first, it was you could convert them to thank you points. Now they earn thank you points directly, and so that's uncapped. So you have 2x everywhere transferable points uncapped, and then Capital One changed their miles to become transferable. And so you could get 2x everywhere with a Capital One card as well.
Yeah, though then, of course, you're locked into an annual fee for whichever Capital One card, although the Venture X is such a good deal right now with the $300 annual travel credit and 10,000 points annually that's arguably a better deal than a card with no annual fee. Yes. So, all right. So lots of opportunities for 2 transferable points per dollar then too. So which 2X card are you using for your everywhere else spend, Greg?
Yeah. Right now, not any of those. I will say that mere mortals should, I do think that the Venture X is probably one of the best options for this category. But if you prefer cash back, of course, I know, Nick, this is your go-to is the Premier Rewards with Platinum Honors with Bank of America. So you get 2.62% everywhere. You could also do that with their new, what is it?
Unlimited cash.
Unlimited cash card. Mm-hmm. So you could do that with no fee.
Right.
You could get the 2.2% cash back everywhere. Again, as long as you have 100K with Bank of America. That card, I do have the Bank of America Premium Rewards for that purpose. I've recently pushed it back in my wallet or taken it out of my day-to-day wallet because I have the X1 card and I'm starting to flex that thing.
Don't flex too hard, Greg. Don't flex too hard or you're going to be really sorry you didn't use.
Do you think it might snap?
It might. I don't know if it might buckle under the pressure sooner than one expects. I mean, we heard lots of shutdown stories in the beginning on the X1 card. So you've used it some and you haven't been shut down.
That's right. I've used it some, and some is a good word there because you remember I've still been cruising along on Amex promotional deals for quite a while. So it took a back seat during all this time. I played with it a little bit when I got it, but I didn't really spend much on it. Now it actually moved physically into my wallet as my everywhere else card, and little disappointed it doesn't have tap to pay built in right now, and that's kind of just a little minor frustration, but not a big deal.
It's funny, I've only used tap to pay, like I could probably count on one hand how many times. I don't usually use, even on terminals where it's there, I always just slide it in. I don't know, I guess I'm a creature of habit, and so I just slide in the chip.
Well, these days you can go to subways in major cities and just tap your card to get in and out and everything.
That's
And
kind
so
of nice, huh?
it's very nice. Yeah, I've done that a lot in London, and my understanding is that's now enabled in New York City. So you can alternatively use like your Apple Pay or Samsung Pay to do the same thing, but I just find that a little bit just just enough more like involved than just tapping a card. So I prefer that. But anyway, that doesn't really matter
That's
much.
just interesting when you mentioned it. It's just something I don't even think about with cards. So I was interested in how you use it. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the X1 card is an interesting beast, and it's, as I wrote in my post, I wouldn't be doing this most likely if this wasn't my career, talking about rewards cards, because it's kind of complicated, and it's not as sure of a thing as the Bank of America 2.62%. But what it does is, by default, you're just getting 2x points from this thing on all your purchases. But if you spend $15,000 on the card per year, which I intend to do, then it moves to 3x. And theoretically, that should be retroactive as well. So my purchases from earlier in the year, once I hit that 15K threshold, should get, I should get those extra points that I had lost. And you can, when you refer a friend, you can get 4x for the month after they accept the referral. And so up to 4x everywhere. And it actually gets a little better. They have this thing in the app that's called boosts, and you're about to pay for something. You go into the app and you find things like, it says get an extra point per dollar on dining. Okay, I'll click that before I hand the waiter my card for a dining purchase, for example. And so that kind of not only makes it a little more rewarding, and means you could get up to 5x on those kind of purchases, but it's kind of, I found it kind of fun. Like,
gamifies it a little bit.
It does. So that's my current thing. As far as what are the points worth, they're worth only 0.7 of a point, if I'm remembering right. Yep. If you cash them out,
I think doesn't that vary though too. I feel like when it launched, it was like it didn't say that somewhere, and so it wasn't clear.
It didn't say it. I didn't see any variability in it. Maybe not then. Yeah, but the better way to use it is there are certain types of purchases. There's actually a big list of merchants where if you spend money at those merchants, you could then erase those charges at 1 cent each, 1 cent per point value. It has enough merchants on it that I shop at enough that I could use it once I accumulate enough points. For example, I mentioned buying things through hotels.com. I think they're on the list. I'll have to double check, but that would be an example where I might want to use this X1 card for those type of purchases once I get enough points, so I can erase those charges. And that would be neat.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting choice. I've been intrigued by the X1 card, quite intrigued, although hesitant to go after that. Not sure that that's really worth the slight extra bump. Especially if you don't refer anybody else, then it's a pretty small bump over the premium rewards card, which certainly is my main go-to everywhere else card these days, the premium rewards card. Now, I was thinking to myself, actually, for a minute there, we were talking about 2% being the floor cash back. And I was thinking the Blue Business Plus, for those of us that have a Schwab Platinum or would consider getting a Schwab Platinum to cash points out, that's kind of like a 2.2% back card. So that could potentially, even as a cash back card, if you look at it that way, could be a good return on your spend. Especially if the Bank of America Premium Rewards card is not something in the realm of possibility for you. That's a really good alternative. Though when I say 2.2% cash back, the very next thing that comes to mind, of course, is the Nearside debit card, which is also earning 2.2% cash back, at least for this year. So I feel like 2.2 should probably be your floor level these days in terms of what your cash back would be. If you're looking for a transferable currency, I think we agree. If you're looking for a transferable currency, I think probably the Venture X makes the most sense as an overall card because all the benefits that it comes with for what, to me anyway, is a negative annual net cost. So, very close to negative annual net cost. I think all of the extra benefits it has over the Blue Business Plus make it worth having that as your everywhere else card if you primarily want transferable points. But if you primarily want cash back, I feel like 2.2 should be your floor level at right now. And yeah, you could get as much as 3% or more potentially. So don't be using one of those 1.5% kind of cards like your Freedom Unlimited. It theoretically sounds nice. And maybe if you're primarily transferring to Hyatt and you know you're going to use those points to good value, maybe the Freedom Unlimited does make sense for you there. But consider that you could be earning a significant amount more in cash back.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, I'll say that I also included in my post, and I think it's a relevant point for me, that Hyatt points for me are even more valuable right now because I value suites so much. I have 2 young kids, 4 and 1 years old. And so a suite to me right now doesn't even seem like a luxury. It seems like a necessity. And so, so when I'm comparing the value I'm getting for Chase points, or Hyatt points rather, I guess, via Chase, I am no longer looking only at the lowest cash rate, which is typically what I would compare against in the past. I would be like, okay, well, I could book this place for $150, so I'm only getting X amount in value. But that's not holding true for me anymore now because I very highly value the ability to book into a suite. I could hope for a suite upgrade with another chain, but with Hyatt, I can lock it in either with points or with a suite upgrade award. So that makes Hyatt points worth a little bit more to me than whatever your comparison point might be if you mostly just want to stay in a regular room, which I know a lot of people are totally happy with a regular room. I sure was until I had 2 small humans that don't have the same sleep schedule that have to stay with me. So that to me makes Hyatt points a little bit more valuable. So again, that may be a defense for your Freedom Unlimited, but I would
actually, I think that's a really important point because, look at your usage of things like Hyatt points and how valuable it is. And, I did that analysis recently, reevaluating the value of Hyatt points. And I was surprised that the median came out the same as it had before, 1.6 cents per point. But what's really notable is the pick your own value chart that's in that post, because if you look at the 80th percentile was, if I remember right, 2.3 cents per point. That means if you're doing just a moderate amount of cherry picking, that is finding the awards that are, more valuable than others. So basically not using your Hyatt points for the situations where it's not as valuable, then, you can pretty easily get 2.3 cents or more from those Hyatt points. And that's not even counting the fact that when you use your points, you don't pay resort fees. Right. That's not included in that analysis.
And you don't pay for parking if you're a globalist.
If you're a globalist, you don't pay for parking on those awards. You're getting a lot more value than sort of is demonstrated in that 2.3. And then you add on a top. I didn't look at suites at all, and suites can give incredible value as well.
They can. And while I'm not going to value my points at the cost of $1,000 a night suite, that suite is definitely worth more to me than whatever a standard room costs, because if I could upgrade to the suite for, $50 or $100 over the cost of the standard room, I would probably do it now. So it's worth something more than whatever the standard room is, even if not the full cost. So.
Right. Yes, that's a great point.
Okay.
All
right. So we agreed more than I expected we would. I feel like we did, or at least we tolerated each other.
Sorry to let down our listeners. We need to disagree more.
That's right. We'll try harder for next week. So I think that wraps that one up, though, right? So I think we need to move into the post roast.
Post roast time.
Do you have a post roast ready?
Of course.
You do. Okay. So if you have one ready, I'm going to prepare for that by plugging in my laptop because my power is about to die. I just realized it wasn't plugged in. So, I'm going to listen really closely while you get started.
There you go. All right. This is not a long one. So, Nick, you had a post that was called "If Cash is King, Is Credit the Answer?" That was the title.
What's that? Were you talking to me? What was that?
Yeah, I was talking to you. And so I went to read that post to find out how credit is the answer if cash is king. And you went on to talk about why debit is the answer, not credit.
Who did that?
Why wasn't the title "If Cash is King, Is Debit the Answer"? What were you thinking?
That's a great question. I guess that could have been the title, but then who would have wanted to have read about that? I needed to plant the seed There was something about credit cards in there, because if I just made it about debit cards in the title, you wouldn't have clicked on it and read it. You'd have been like, I don't care about debit cards. But if I at least drew you in, then I could try to convince you that you should be considering debit cards more carefully. So that was my angle.
There you go.
That was my
So it was basically clickbait.
yeah, basically clickbait. Well, because I wanted to make the point, and I didn't want you to ignore the point, so I had to draw you in. Credit is not the answer.
Okay.
Debit might be the answer. All right.
Right.
So that was my defense there. I do not have a post roast prepared for Greg, which is good because my power cord was not in my bag. So I am going to move right into the question of the week with however much battery I've got left.
Let's wrap this up quickly before next laptop dies.
So the question here came in via the email address. So we've been getting those emails at mailbag@frequentmiler.com. So I wanted to pull a question out of that mailbag today because we have been getting some good question of the week contenders. So question of the week this week comes in from Brian. Brian asks, is it still worth upgrading to the Ritz card from the Marriott Boundless if I already have titanium elite status? I'm really not sure what that had to do with it, Brian, but I tossed that in there anyway. If I did upgrade, so he's got the Marriott Boundless right now. This is a better part of the question, or a more relevant part of the question, I think. Could I then immediately, like maybe a week later, apply for the Chase Marriott Boundless to get the new 100,000 point sign-up bonus, maybe while using Player 2's referral link? I haven't applied for the new bonus on a Marriott card in over 20 years. You know, it may have been a different card back then, blah, blah, blah. So Brian's question is two-tiered. A, is it worth upgrading to the Ritz card? And B, if he does that, would he be eligible to get the 100,000 point bonus on the Marriott Boundless right now if he hasn't gotten a bonus on that card in many years?
Yeah. So the Ritz card, for many people, is definitely worth upgrading to. It does cost a lot more, but you get a $50K annual cert instead of a $35K annual cert, and you get $300 in airline incidental fee credits, which you have to call or secure message Chase to get that credit. It's not automatic the way it is with Amex Platinum cards, but it's still there. And so if you think you can make good use of that, those two things, the $50K cert, $300 credit, is worth well more than the annual fee. You also get a fantastic version of, we think, of Priority Pass. And I say we think because there have been some confusion recently about whether that's true for new signer-uppers. But anyway, you get a lot of good things. I think it's worth it for most people. Whether you could turn around and sign up for the Boundless card right away, off the top of my head, I don't think so, because most of the cards have rules about, you can't have had an account for something like 90 days. So go find our post on how to, are you eligible for a Marriott card, and just see what the rules are for the card that you want. And you might have to wait 90 days or whatever the rule is before you can apply for it.
Yeah. So see the link in the description, because it'll be down there below where you can read all about it, know exactly what the rules are depending on which situation you have in terms of cards. I agree with Greg. I think the Ritz card is worth an upgrade if you value those other benefits a little bit, or value those other benefits reasonable amount. I think it's worth it. To me, it's worth having, though. Of course, in my case, I'm kind of lucky. I opened it many years ago, and I've been grandfathered in. I recently got charged the annual fee again, and I'm only paying a $395 annual fee, which makes it all the more worth it for me. But even still, at a little bit more, I would probably be willing to pay a bit more, because I think those $50K free night certificates, though less valuable in the future, are still going to be worth a significant sum. And so just between that and the $300 annual travel credit, I feel like I'll easily get more than the cost of the annual fee. And then that Priority Pass membership, which I still have, and I recently got my new card in the mail, so at least it still comes as a benefit on the card for existing card holders. So I assume for new card holders it would be the same thing, since the card hasn't been available new for a long time. I can't imagine it's different. Like I said, I just got the new Priority Pass card in the mail a few weeks ago, so I'm very happy with the value of the Ritz card. I think it's worth having it. And a couple of the side benefits are not worth very much. The $100 credit on a 2-night stay, not necessarily worth very much, because you got to pay a higher rate. The club upgrade certs, it could be useful if you're going to pay the rack rate of the room, but if you're not going to pay the rack rate in a Ritz, they're not really all that worthwhile either.
Yeah, it's such a rare case where those are worth it.
So I wouldn't value
about
those,
that.
But anyway, okay.
No.
So hopefully that answers your question, Brian. Thank you guys very much for being out there with us today. If you've enjoyed today's episode and you'd like to get our posts in your inbox, you want to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Join our email list, follow us on all the various social medias, join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group, and wherever you're listening to this, watching this, etc., please do us a favor. Leave us a like, subscribe, enable notifications, leave us a comment or a review. Any and all of those things are much appreciated. It helps the channel out. So thank you very much for that. And we will see you guys again soon.
All right. And if you have any questions for us, some feedback for us, send it via email to mailbag@frequentmiler.com. See you next time.